Good evening, kiddos. So what we're doing here today is we are, eating grapes. But other than that, drinking coffee, enjoying the nice, cool night, and doing a little geometry while we're at it. So the important things that we need to remember are vocab here. So you should have your notes with you. The important ones are complementary, two angles that add up to 90. Supplementary, two angles that add up to 180. A linear pair, remember all linear pairs are supplementary. And vertical pairs, all vertical pairs are congruent. So we start off with number one. Number one, it gives us two adjacent angles, which are complementary. How do we know they're complementary? Because they're both together, they make up a 90-degree angle. So we simply go 90 minus 65 and get 25. Likewise for number two, this is a linear pair. They're both adjacent and supplementary. So we know that 180 minus 51 equals 129. It's my dog, Rama. Cleo's the one yapping in the background. She's the cat. And number three. So here, we have to put two of them together. If I ever have vertical angles, like I do here, remember vertical angles? Here's my little bow tie angles. This is a fat bow tie. Or I think Maura was the one who said that it also kind of looks like a... it looks like a timer, like a sand timer. So we know that vertical angles are congruent. So y and 107 are congruent, so that's 107. We also know that 107 and x are a linear pair, so we go 180 minus 107, and we get 73, which also means that z is 73, either because it's a linear pair with 107 or because it's vertical to the other 73. So moving on. Number four. So a measure of an angle is 13 degrees. Find the measure of its supplement. Again, this really focuses on your understanding of the word supplement in that, hey Cleo, in that it means supplementary angles, which add up to 180. So we know that we have two angles that add up to 180. One of them is 13, which means that the other one is going to be 167. Same general idea for number five, except it's a complement. So we know that two angles add up to 90 degrees, and one of them is 38, which means that our missing angle is 52, 90 minus 38. Number six, they form a linear pair. Linear pairs are supplementary. So we know that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180. So 5x plus 9 plus 3x plus 11 equals 180. Combine like terms. Subtract 20 from both sides. And we get x equals 20. Now notice here that they didn't ask us to solve for x. They asked us to solve for the missing, or find the measure of each angle. So what we need to do is then go plug. Come on, Mama. We need to plug number one back into, or no, x equals 20 back into the measure of angle 1 to get 109. And then, since we know they're a linear pair, we can go 180 minus 109 equals 71. Or we could plug 20 into the measure of angle 2. 3 times 20 is 60. 60 plus 11 is 71. Which brings us to number 7. So 1 and 2 are vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent, which means their measures are equal. So that's what we do. We go 17x plus 1 equals 20x minus 14. Combine like terms. Add 14. And divide by 3. We get x equals 5. Again, it's asking for the measure of angle 2, even though they're vertical angles. So you could, if you want to be tricky, find the measure of angle 1 and just say they're the same. We go 20 times 5 minus 14, which is 100 minus 14, or 86. If we'd done it the other way around, 17 times 5 is 85. 85 plus 1 is 86. And on to number 8, complementary angles, which means that the measure of angle K plus the measure of angle L equals, drum roll please, 90 degrees. We then fill in the given binomials, 3x plus 3 and 10x minus 4. Set those equal to 90. And then math it out. So 13x minus 1 equals 90. 13x equals 91, or x equals 6. Or 7, sorry. We then plug 7 back in. I'm going to go the measure of angle K. 3 times 7, 21, plus 3 is 24. And again here, you can just go 90 minus 24 to get 66. Or you can go 10 times 7 is 70. 70 minus 4 is 66. 66 and 24 is 90. We did a good job. Number 9. Don't eat grapes and pet your cat at the same time. You end up eating cat hair grapes, which is not pleasant. Okay, 6. Slide 6, we're actually on. Number 7, 8, 9. So the measure of angle P is 3 less than twice the measure of angle Q, and P and Q are supplementary. So what we want to do here is write out what we know. We know that P and Q are supplementary, which means they add up to 180 degrees. We also know that the measure of angle P, and this is just translating this part right here, is, put an equal sign, 3 less, minus 3, twice the measure of angle Q. So then what we do is we substitute in that for P. So instead of writing P plus Q equals 180, we write 2m, 2 times the measure of angle Q, minus 3, so it's the same thing as writing the measure of angle P, plus the measure of angle Q equals 180. Combine like terms. Add 3. Divide by 3. We get the measure of angle Q equals 61. We need to find each one. So there are 2 ways to do this. Again, we can go 180 minus 61 and get 119. Or if we wanted to make sure, we could take that 61 and plug it back in. So double it, get 122, subtract 3, and get 119. Either way, you're going to get 119. Number 10, general idea is the same. We know B and C are complementary, meaning they add up to 90 degrees. I forgot to put a little equal sign there. We also know the measure of angle B is 2 more, so it's plus 2, 3 times the measure of angle C. Again, we do substitution. So we have 2 plus 3 times the measure of angle C plus the measure of angle C equals 90. That gives us 2 plus 4 times the measure of angle C equals 90. Subtract 2 from both sides. Divide by 4. And we get C equaling 22. Again, we know B and C are supplementary, so we can go 90 minus 22 equals 68. Or we could take that 22 and plug it back in. 3 times 22 is 66. And 66 plus 2 is 68. On to page 2. These are a little more straightforward algebraic. We have to figure out what the relationship is between the two angles that they give us, or the 3 or 4 angles that they give us, and then use our prodigious algebra skills to solve it. So, first one, vertical angles. Again, with my little bow ties. I don't know why it's not letting me draw. Anyway. So those are my vertical angles. They are equal to each other, because that's what vertical angles are. They're congruent, which means that measures are equal. Combine like terms. So x equals 12. We then plug 12 in. It doesn't matter which one you do, you're going to get the same answer. 6 times 12 is 72. 72 plus 7 is 79. 8 times 12 is 96. 96 minus 17 is also 79, which means that the angles are 79 degrees. Number 12, they are a linear pair, which means they're supplementary. So we sum them to 180. Combine like terms. Add 28. Divide by 16. We get x equals 13. So then we need to go and plug 13 in there. 13 in there. 11 times 13 is 143. 143 minus 15 is 128. Again, we could go 180 minus 128 and get 52. Or we could go 5 times 13 is 65. 65 minus 13. 5 times x minus 13. 5 times 13 is 65. 65 minus 13 is 52. And 52 and 128 equals 180. So that checks. Number 13. Ray, or line BD, is perpendicular to, or ray BD is perpendicular to line AC. The measure of angle DBE is 2x minus 1, and the measure of angle CBE is 5x minus 42. Because we know that BD is perpendicular to ABC, we know that those two together are 90 degrees. It's what perpendicular means. So we know that 2x minus 1 plus 5x minus 42 is going to equal 90 degrees. That gives us 7x minus 43 equals 90. Add 43 to both sides. Divide by 7. And we get x equals 19. And because that's all we had to do, we're done. Number 14. QS bisects PQR. So that means that, and PQR is 82 degrees. Since PQS is half of 82, that means each one of those internal angles is going to be 41 degrees. So 10x plus 1 equals 41, or x equals 4. Okay, so 15, 16, 17, we have x's and y's. So what you first need to do is find the value, or the angle pair, rather. Find the angle pair that allows you to isolate a variable, solve for that angle, and then use that solved angle to find for the other variable. Number 15. We have a pair of vertical angles, 18y and 5, 10x minus 61. Different variables there, so they're an infinite number of solutions. But we do see that 10x minus 61 and x plus 10 are a linear pair, which means that 10x minus 61 plus x plus 10 equals 180. Combine like terms. Add 51, divide by 11, and we get x equals 21. Okay, so how do we use that x to solve for y? Well, there are a couple things we can do. I could plug it in to 10x minus 61, get 210 minus 61 equals 18y plus 5. Or I could plug it in down here, find out that 21 plus 10 is 31, and realize that 31 plus 18y plus 5 is also supplementary. Combine like terms, subtract 36, and divide by 18. And lo and behold, there we go. Last slide, ladies and gents. So, 16, find the values of x and y. Again, we want to look for that angle pair, which lets us solve for a variable. Can't yet solve for y, so we need to solve for x first. Again, we realize that those two are a linear pair, which means they're supplementary. So we know that 5x plus or minus 17 plus 3x minus 11 equals 8x minus 28 equals 180. Add 28, divide by 8. So x equals 26. Then plug 26 in down there. 3 times 20. So we go 5x minus 17, put it as 3x minus 11 equals 180. Combine like terms, add 28, divide by 8, and we get x equals 26. So then what I want to do is I want to plug that 26 in. 26 times 3 is 78. 78 minus 11 is 67. Now here's the thing. I know all three of those angles right there have to add up to 180, and that's the angle addition postulate. If I take that big angle, that straight angle, and break it into 3 pieces, I end up with 180. You can also look at it as those two angles are complementary, but you kind of end up in the same place. I add up all 3 of those angles, so we figured out that bottom one is 67. We know the top one is, or that middle one is 90, and the top one is 2y plus 5. Combine like terms. Subtract 162 from both sides, and divide by 2. And that gives us our x and our y. Finally, so on this one we have to do a little bit more work because they actually don't put any of the terms in the diagram. So we know that NP bisects MNQ. So when it bisects, it creates 2 congruent angles. We know that MNQ, that whole angle, is 8x plus 12. We know that P and Q, which is half of that, or one of the split angles, is 78. And we know that R and M is 3y minus 9. So we know that half of MNQ is 78. So we know that 2 times 78 is going to be 8x plus 12. 2 times 78 is 156, which makes x 18. Since we know that those two angles are 156, and we know that they form a straight angle with angle R and M, we can go 156 plus R and M, 3y minus 9, equals 180. So that angle right there, that big angle is 180. We know all the parts of it, so we can add them all up together. Again, the angle addition postulate. Combine like terms. Subtract 147. And y equals 11. And that's it. And I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow.